What's going on, YouTube? Carfight King here. So today, guys, I wanted to bring you my Beelzemon deck profile. Um, my brother did use my deck to get second place at our Beelzemon Cup, but this is more for like just the general format rather than the Beelzemon Cup or any type of like specialized tournament format that you seem to have been playing in for a while. It seems like, but I what I really wanted to focus on with this deck was just getting my ideal ratios correctly for how I want to approach the deck when we get the BT12 support and things like that. Just something that feels consistent, feels comfortable for me. And the deck is already just consistent and everything with the things because there's not really much that you need to like add. Spicy tag here, there that messes with the core gameplay, the core mechanics of what the deck wants to do, what it wants to search for, and things like that. It's just a very solid deck, and it knows what it wants and knows what it wants to do, and we want to keep to that theme and just add a few cards and that help us out that way. So we're gonna go with the egg choices first. The egg choice we're going to go with is 4 Yaman, 1 Pagu. Pagumon I feel is a good egg, and I think it's a decent as a fifth, but the issue with Pagumon is that it definitely promotes more of a rookie rush style where you're just throwing your Impmon bodies into security to get that extra mill, and where you want your stuff to kind of die. And I kind of like what Yaman provides. Yaman is more consistent, promotes more of I want to maintain board presence while still getting my mills off and still pressuring my opponent's security down. And it also activates when you're like if you're building a stack, like you have a Beelstar in the stack, or like a your Beelzemon, whatever it is, it does activate like their abilities for milling and things like that. So I just think that the Yaman egg, I like it more for its consistency and what it's able to do over the Pagumon egg, but I don't blame if you want to go with the Pagumon egg. And this is just one way you can kind of like play the deck. There are like really two different philosophies and approaches you can take to how you want to play Beelzemon, what you feel is better. And this is the one that I feel a little bit more comfortable with how the updated support is looking. My other profiles, we did utilize Pokemon, but that was a different build and a different time. For the rookies, we got 2 of the BT6 Impmon, 4 of the Impmon from the BT2, 4 starter deck Impmon, and 4 Impmon from EX2. This Impmon is probably the weakest one out of all of them in terms of what you want to utilize it for, because it doesn't really help you out until kind of like the mid to late game, because you really want to call this out to grab like a Beelstar or something to help add to your stack, or grab a card that you can combo with for like one of your mill plays. Like you can grab like a Beelzemon, stack it on top with an Imako if you Digivolve into something on top of it, or somewhere else, mill it, and then kind of like combo it that way. A lot of times I usually just look to grab the Beelstar with this card for like an in-game play, because in-game Beelstar can be definitely a win con for the deck. The starter deck, you already know this one. It's just mills 3. It's a good Impmon for more of a rookie rush deck, but come BT12, will probably be at least in this version of the deck, I'll probably be replacing it just because it doesn't exactly give me what what you want. In terms of a different philosophy for the build. The EX2 Impmon, purely he's in here for his win milled effect, so you can mill up to 3 cards. But the search effect for the Imako and the Beelzemon is it's okay. It's not the greatest. But it does have its usefulness, especially when you don't really have much else to do. And finding your Imako is also it can be very good as well, because Imako definitely drives this deck. It's a really hard carry for how the deck is right now. Imako super good. And then Stardeck Impmon. Stardeck Impmon is one of my favorite cards to come out. What this card basically does is that when you attack and you have 20 more cards in your trash, you can warp into a Beelzemon. This actually does have an OTK that you can do with the deck, and it's inheritable. Just when you mill a card, it gets rid of floodgates. And a lot of times I like to see this card early and pretty much in all phases of the game, because if your opponent is playing floodgates against you, then you can just Digivolve on top of this, mill a card, and then and then mill a card, and then pretty much just pop, get rid of the floodgates. And the reason why I'm not playing floodgates in deck is because I'm building it for a more general sense. I tried Gazi, I tried Psych, and those cards worked in a purple only, in a Beelzemon Cup type of format, because having those floodgates out really stopped a lot of what purple wants to do in terms of like reducing the cost for Death X and Beelstar, and or you know, stopping a lot of the memory manipulation plays like that this deck has, that the Minerva Loop deck has, and stuff like that. But I felt like, you know, with this Impmon, you can just Digivolve top of this, get rid of the floodgate, and keep going with your plays. And that, you know, I just didn't feel a need to play the floodgates in here, because otherwise the floodgates aren't searchable. They're just there for you to hard play and then really kind of do nothing. And with this deck and the way that you mill and things like that, I feel like you just kind of want to go, and that's really what's been working for me. For the level 4s, we got 1 Loemon, 4 Wizardmon, 4 Witchmon. The Loemon is in here just for hybrid, for like late game. This isn't a trash. You can pop a Rivals Barrage, grab this bag, Digivolve this on top of the Tamer, swing for game. I just wanted a 9th level 4 in here again. Just wanted to go with my ideal lineup for how I wanted my ratios to be. Wizardmon promo, we know is good when you mill a gain of memory, and it's inheritable to stack is important. This is the only inheritable when you're stacking deck where you have to reveal it to your opponent. The Iron Malcolm one, you don't have to actually reveal it. And in some cases, that can be a defensive play that you can, that you could do. And then there's Witchmon. So Witchmon, I fell in love with. What she pretty much does is that you just Digivolve and mill 3, right? Her other inheritable is you get 2,000 DP, but this is just a Digivolve and mill 3. She really accelerates it, and she's one of the best cards to go on top of starter deck Impmon, where you can just go mill 3 and then pop a level 3. So like if you have starter deck Impmon out or in the raising area, and ideally this is one of the cards you want in your raising area, when you do Digivolve into like a Witchmon or something, and your opponent just throws a level 3 out just to pass her or whatever it is, it's like, okay, fine, you're playing into my game plan of let me raise this Impmon, Digivolve, pop that with his ability, and then continue on my turn. It's super solid. I really like what Witchmon brings to the table, especially going forward into the BT12 format after this BT11 format. Going with level 5s, we got Balmon and Balmon, starter deck and BT10. BT10 one is okay. It's better mid game when you have 10 cards in your drop zone, you have a Beelzemon, you can just put this card onto the board, and if your opponent plays a deck that deals with destruction and removes it or attacks over it, whatever it is, then you get your Beelzemon. The attack mill 3 is cool, but this one, I just like this one because the thing is about him and Witchmon and some other cards in deck is that they have impactful Digivolve, meaning that Impmon wants to raise out of the raising area, right? So you raise out of the raising area, and you can go into Witchmon, mill 3, go into Balmon, mill 3. Well, you just milled 6 cards, off of that. And his other effect is that he does have the same effect, but on Digivolving, if you have 10 cards in your trash and he's deleted until the end of your opponent's turn, you can bring a Beelzemon out. So this is cool because if it gets Digivolved, if you put like a Beelstar or something on top of the stack, then it still gains that effect. And so this kind of allows you for an aggressive swing, like, okay, well, I'm not going to be able to get to my 6 this turn. I don't have it in hand. That's fine. It's in the trash. I'll swing with this. If it dies either now or my opponent's turn, I'm putting a 6 onto the board. Same thing with this one. If it dies, whether when I'm swinging with it or not, I'm putting a 6 to the board. So it's just an overall solid card, and I guess the fact that you can give 2k to your Beelzemon if you need to play a little field control and attack over big things. For level 6s and 7, 1 Beelstar, 2 Beelzemon from the starter deck, 4 EX2 Beelzemon, and 2 Blast Mode. So the 2 starter deck Beelzemon. Now, I know some people play 3, maybe even 4, whatever it is, and it could be you don't have access to this card, and that's perfectly fine. The reason why I'm only going with 2 is because this card is really yes, when you Digivolve it, you trash the top 4 cards of your deck, which can be nice. But this card is really better in the late game than it is in the early game. I find like this card is better to grab, to grab off of your Impmon swinging, and then going into him, getting the extra security tech and whatnot, and even just late game, sometimes you can bring him out, or you can bring him out with like Balmon or something like that. So then the next turn, if you end up milling a card or whatnot, you can activate his ability, get the extra security tag, get the memory back, and then just do different things. Like, this is a very solid Beelzemon card, and there are many ways to utilize him in deck. Even if you want to play, put him on top of your stack, it's still different. I just find that he is he is more devastating the later it gets in the turn, when you start comboing out and then going into your blast mode, and who blast mode is like the best finisher. It's the finisher that I talked about in my video that we've been asking for. I'll talk about the Beelstar before this one, because this one's like really important. So Beelstar, I see her as a win con. What she does is that for every 10 cards in your trash, when you call her from hand, you reduce it by four. So when you're at 20 cards, you're reducing it by 8. So she's a 5 cost. 30 cards, she's a 1 cost card. Really strong. Why she controls the board, why she's an extremely strong card early, along with this Beelzemon, is the fact that what she does is that all turns, when a card is trashed from your deck, you can bring an Impmon back and give it rush, right? But if your opponent attacks, you trash the top card of your deck. So, and since you trash the top card of your deck when your opponent attacks, that means that you can trash like a Wizardmon or something to give you memory back. When you trash a card, you put an Impmon onto the board once per turn. So then that is, you know, like a tempo swing where it's like, dang, I just put Star Deck Impmon. Now my opponent, now I know that I'm going to have access to swinging with Beelzemon the next turn. And her opponent's turn, when an opponent attacks, is not once per turn. It is multiple times. So they can give you extra mills, fill up your drop zone for certain things. You can mill this Beelzemon, you can mill this Beelzemon, you can, you know, mill whatever it is. So she really lets you play on your opponent's turn, which is what I like about her. But for like an OTK play, like when you have her on the board and you can swing with her with the Yaman Egg, mill 2, bring back in Star Deck Impmon. Star Deck Impmon can swing, go into this Beelzemon, mill 4, get the extra security, take 2, and then go into your closer, which is the blast mode. And then the blast mode can, you know, can restand, gain the memory back, and then swing for game. But this Beelzemon, however, this one is so good. It's amazing. Now, yes, I do have the alt art, but this Beelzemon is amazing. So remember, all of his effects are actually optional. When this card is trapped in your deck, you may play an Impmon. So you don't have to play an Impmon. You may play an Impmon. So you don't have to. Is there a scenario where you don't want to play an Impmon to the board? Very rarely. But you don't have to do that. His when Digivolving, when attacking effect, it's worded the same way as Calling from the Darkness, okay? When Digivolving, when attacking, you may trash the top 2 cards of your deck, then delete one. It's not you may trash the top 2 cards of your deck in order to do something. It's not it's not a cost to do something else. It is just a you may trash 2 when Digivolving, when attacking. So you don't have to do that. And it's like, okay, I choose not to do that. Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to delete a Digimon for every 10, delete one of your opponent's Digimon that's level 3 or lower for every 10 Digimon, increase that level. So when you hit 20 cards in trash, you can start deleting level 5s. And you don't actually have to mill. So this actually is a really good Digimon early game to get some early mills off, get some pop, start popping cards on the board. Late game, it's a decent card to go into just to, you can swing in this, pop a blocker, and then you can go into this for the finishing damage or an extra damage, whatever the case is. This Beelzemon is just super good, super solid, and it goes in with the Impmon spam. Like really, when you're milling this card, filling your board full of Impmons, getting multiple Impmon abilities off, then it's like, okay, now I've gotten control of the board. I have all these little Impmons on the board. I'm swinging in. I just have damage, and so that's what this card really does. It just brings a lot of the heat to what you want to do with this deck. And then we're going to go into the Tamers and option cards. So the option cards, 2 Mist Boost, 4 of the Deathslinger, 3 copies of Rivals Barrage, and my Tamer is 3 copies of Imako. We already know what Deathslinger does. It's super good, crack. Miss Memory Boost just kind of helps out with the mills, and it kind of gives you an extra 3 cost play to do, and the extra memory can help in a lot of different situations. Rivals Barrage is really good. It's pretty much another 7 cost option. Of course, we can use it in Beelstar. When you use it from your hand, you just delete the highest play cost, goes into the trash. When you mill it, it goes to the board. It doesn't go to the board if you use it from your hand to delete a Digimon, or from your thing. When when you mill it, it goes to your battle area, and then on the next turn you use this delay effect to add a purple Digimon card or Tamer to your hand. So you can add your Iron Mako, you can add your Loemon for game, your hybrid for game. You can add, Beelstar. You can this card really can just combo off and get you. It gives you your Ballmon, it gives you access to anything you need. I was running 4 copies of this card, but the card was a little starting to clog a little bit, and I was drawing it a little bit too often, and I wanted to just make room for other cards that were not going to be this. Like the Death Slinger is just really strong. It's low cost removal that grows throughout the game. This is like high cost removal, but it's just much better when you mill it. Iron Mako carries this deck really hard, and it's good in other purple decks too. Because when you play it, you can pretty much search your Wizard, Evil, or Demon Lord card. So it hits every card in your deck, every Digimon in your deck that you want to look at, except for the Loemon. And then when one of your Digimon digivolves into a purple Digimon, you can basically put a card from your hand on top of your deck, and then gain your memory. So it can prevent you from decking out 1, 2. It sets up. You can set up your mill plays. So you can set up like a Blastmon, set up a Rivals Barrage, set up a Death Slinger to gain memory, do whatever you want. It is one of the best setup cards in the deck, and in all facets. So this card is just really strong. But that's the deck profile, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think. Again, this was, this is just one build of Beelzemon that I have. I know there's some other text that you can run in the deck. Like you can run other purple cards like Gazimon and things like that. I found the copy of Masuyamon that you can run. It is a wizard. It does have jamming, as a another level 4 option that is searchable by Iron Mako. But I think this deck is just really good. It's very, very, very consistent in what it wants to do, and how to achieve game. And like I said, it does have an OTK. Blast mode is the closer that we've wanted for a long time, and I'm so happy that we have blast mode and that we have this new blast mode in the deck. And this deck is only going to get better going into the BT12 format, but for right now I think it's a very good, very fast, solid purple deck for the BT11 format, and I can't wait to keep playing with this. Next video we're going to get my Beelstar deck for the BT11 format with the upgrades from the Beelzemon advanced deck. But alright, Cardfight King, thank you guys for watching, and I am out. See ya.